Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast.
You are listening to the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and this week I'm talking all about toxins in your lipstick. So you may or may not realize that 61% of lipsticks contain these toxins. That's a lot to me. I mean, it would be one thing if it was like maybe 10% or 15%. But 61% is the majority of lipsticks out there. So let me share with you some of the toxins, particularly heavy metals that are in lipsticks. So it's lead, chromium, cadmium, aluminum, and let's not forget about parabens, which is not a heavy metal, but it's certainly a toxin. It is a carcinogen, which means it can cause cancer. And so a lot of lipsticks contain these. I mean, parabens are in so many things, from things that you may use at home, shampoos, lotions, facial cleansers or creams. There's parabens everywhere. And so when you're shopping around for things, or even just go into your closet now and see if there's any parabens in the things that you're using every single day. They'll be called methyl parabens. Or even if you just see the word parabens, I would probably not continue to use it or switch to something else that doesn't have parabens in it. So, not only do we have all of these contain these toxins in lipsticks, we also have petroleum. I mean, you know what petroleum is, right? It's like the gasoline that goes into your car. You know what else is made of petroleum that probably, and I think so many people have it, and it's probably in the majority of people's bathrooms, is, and this is completely off topic, but it's vapor rub. Vapor rub. This thing has been around for decades, and people use it all the time when they're sick. They rub it on their chest. Maybe they rub it on their feet. Anyway, it's the same thing. It's petroleum, the gasoline that you put in your car. So I don't use vapor rub, but trust me, it was used on me as a child. When I was a kid growing up, we had it in our house. I haven't touched that stuff for decades and decades. So, you know, one of the things that I learned, which was really disgusting. Do you know one of the ways that they make the really deep red pigments in lipstick? They crush beetles. Yeah, beetles. They crush them, and the shell of the beetle is what actually creates that really strong red pigment. I mean, I can't even think about that the next time I put on lipstick, right? So let me share with you some of the brands that are definitely have the highest concentration of these heavy metals and parabens in them. And that would be L'Oreal, CoverGirl, Revlon, Maybelline, and Dior Addict. So you may be thinking, oh, those are like the really inexpensive, kind of cheap makeup. You know, I don't use any of that stuff. But you'll be surprised that even the very expensive ones still contain this stuff. It still does. Maybe to a much lesser degree, but it is still there. So what I'm going to include in the show notes is going to be a link to the list of lipsticks and where they're coming from that contain the highest amount of toxins in them. And I'm also going to include a list of lipsticks that don't contain any of that stuff. So I think this is great information in terms of like, if you're just trying to like get rid of toxins from your life, from your bathroom, from your makeup, because these heavy metals and petroleum and parabens, they're not just in lipstick. I mean, like I said before, it's in so many things. So it could be in your eye makeup. It's definitely in your lip gloss, most likely. At least 61% of lip glosses have it. It could be in the blush or the foundation. So really important to read when every bit of makeup you buy comes in a box. And so you want to, and I know that it's so little. The ingredients are so tiny. But take a look at that before you buy it and just see what it has in it. One of the things, me being gluten-free, one of the things that I always look for, aside from parabens, yes, would be gluten. And so I look for wheat in my products. I make sure there's no wheat. And then wheat germ, we see that a lot, and wheat, and it's like supposed to be quote unquote healthy. Oh, it says wheat in it. That's so healthy for you. Well, for people who have a gluten sensitivity or people who need to be staying away from gluten, you're consuming it then if it's in a lipstick. Like I do not put anything that has wheat, a wheat germ in or anywhere near me. So lipsticks, that includes definitely lipsticks, because that, how many times we apply lipstick per day? We're consuming it. It's going in our bodies. I mean, where else would it be going? It's going in our bodies. So just be mindful of that. If gluten is a thing for you and you want to stay away, then look for the wheat or wheat germ in the lipsticks. Now, I don't do any wheat on any of my cosmetics at all. Nothing. No foundations. Even if it's not going to be on my lips where I'm like actively, it's going into my body, you know that anything you put on your skin is still being absorbed. So I read everything, and I choose organic products, even from the lotions to what have you. And of course, it is much harder to find organic, like, eyeshadows and things like that. Of course, I've never seen that before, but I do look at the labels and I make sure there's no wheat or parabens. If it says methylparabens on any level, sometimes it'll even say lead in the ingredients. So I would read it before you purchase it. And also don't think, well, I buy Chanel, and so it's so expensive that it most likely doesn't have it. I don't know about that. I'll send you the link. It'll be in the show notes with all the products that do not contain these heavy metals. And it may be a very short list. And it also may not, you may not be able, I may be wrong, but I did read that in order to produce really, the deep red pigments for a red lipstick or a really dark compared to a very light kind of nude, that the darker, deeper colors have a higher risk of containing the heavy metals. So just keep that in mind. But definitely the brands that I saw that contained the highest were L'Oreal, CoverGirl, Revlon, Maybelline, and Dior Addict. Now, I don't know if Dior Addict is the same as Dior. Because I don't purchase Dior, so I don't know if that's two separate things or the same thing. And there's also one other thing. Aside from petroleum, look for something called coal tar. I know you've seen this. Or maybe you've never really read the ingredients, but I have seen coal tar. It is the same thing as petroleum. So if you're like, oh, this looks good. If it says coal tar, it means it's petroleum. So you want to stay away from that as well, because it's also a known carcinogen. So that's it. That's it. Very quick tutorial this week. And I'll be coming back next week with some more goodies. If you have not been following me on Instagram, that's where I am every single day. And you can head on over to Instagram.com/Margaret Romero. And I'll have everything in the show notes that you'll need. If you want to check out if your lipstick is in there, then you may want to consider changing or finding a better brand with sort of similar color to it. All right. Thank you so much for listening. If you've been loving these conversations, I would love it if you can leave me a review in iTunes. All right. That's it for now. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you're all well. Happy New Year and love to you all. Bye for now.